Imagine you wake up and you can't hear anything. And you think, maybe this is just going to go away. Maybe there's something in my throat. Maybe I need to pop my ears. Maybe I just need to cough a little bit. But you do that for hours and your hearing doesn't come back. You see a doctor and they tell you you're 26% deaf in every ear. You only have 26% of your original hearing still available to you. How would you react? Probably not great, especially if you're a musician and hearing is everything to you. That's how you exist, that's how you make money, that's how you express yourself. And now you don't have any of that. That is the premise for the movie Sound of Metal. And let's dive in and talk about this movie because this is an emotional movie. Seems like a low budget movie, but there's a lot to unpack emotionally. I think for anybody that's watching this that's a musician like I am, definitely watch it. I think you're going to connect on a different level and on a deeper level with this movie. Hey everyone, it's me, lofi musician and producer Blue Sirens. This is where I hang out on the internet and talk about anything related to music. It can be anime, comic books, movies, gear, whatever it is, you can find it here. So let's talk about The Sound of Metal. This movie's been out for a while. You can watch it on Amazon Prime or several other places, but it's gonna rock you maybe to your core. As a musician, there's always the aspect of, protecting your ears. I think is a huge thing that we have to deal with. And we struggle with that at times because when we go to a concert, we want to hear the sound, we want to feel it. And after the concert, your ears might be ringing and you might think nothing of it. If you play music on stage, having custom made in-ear headphones to protect you is super important. And so in this movie, when we see this character who seems like he's mostly done everything right to protect his ears, he has some in-ear headphones. He just doesn't have his hearing anymore. And of course, this is a fictional movie, so we don't know exactly what's caused his hearing loss, but it alludes to the fact that he's been exposed to loud noises for long periods of time, which, as a metal drummer, pretty obvious, I'd say. So this movie, I've got to say, definitely watch it. It's a little slow going at times, but it does have a lot of emotional connection to it. Riz Ahmed, who I first found out about him through Venom. He's the evil CEO in Venom. So I don't think it's going to be like a performance because he's just a dick in that movie. It's also just like a Venom movie, not known for the highest quality standards. But he brings it home emotionally in this. As he loses his hearing, he moves to a home for people that have lost their hearing, they're deaf, and maybe they've been an addict in the past. It seems like the majority of the people in this house have been an addict, and they're trying to work through how to get back into society, how to deal with addiction, but also kind of dealing with deafness as well too. Everyone in the house is deaf. There is a school or maybe like a church sponsored school that he kind of ends up attending with children to learn sign language. And this is a tough part of the movie to watch because you really feel like his world has been completely changed, completely rocked, and he has to kind of let go of the past and bring on something new, and he can't because music was everything to him and he doesn't know how to do sign language. He's just so hurt and destroyed about what he's lost, his hearing, his girlfriend who he was in the band with, everything about his previous life pretty much gone. And he does eventually find value in being at the school and the home. He learns sign language, but one of the tougher parts of the movie is when he's given a task by the person that runs the home to just sit in a room and write. And if he can't write, get up, walk around. But the goal is to be able to just to sit there and be still. And when he starts this, he's incredibly frustrated and he's just taking his emotions out. And he can't even feel that he's taking his emotions out because he can't hear it. And so it drives him crazy. that he can't even express himself by yelling and can't even hear it. But eventually it does seem like he gets some sort of peace, some sort of stillness, but he decides to revisit his old life and logs onto a computer and finds that his girlfriend has been playing all these great shows but without a drummer, because the band has just been her and him. And he wants to be a part of that life again. So he says, I'm selling everything I have, all the music equipment, their Airstream, and he gets a surgery, gets a cochlear implant, and gets kicked out of the house because the house is only for people who are deaf. And it's one of the rules that, deafness is not something you need to fix. And he gets the implant thinking he is going to go meet up with his girlfriend and it's going to be like how everything was before. Well, he gets the implant, and when they turn it on, it sounds terrible. It honestly sounds like just like a shitty mix. Like everything's gargled, there's tons of static. Like, I don't know if I could listen every single day to like everyone's voice is being distorted, and like all the ambient sound is like turned up to 100 and there's static. It's not a fun experience when he experiences it. Yeah. But he says, I've done this. I gotta go and try have my old life back. He goes and meets up with his girlfriend in France. Apparently, her dad's super rich, and she's there trying to like kind of have a new life, but he slowly starts to realize he can't be a part of this new life, and walks out to the streets of Paris and is overwhelmed by the amount of sounds and the amount of like just terrible static, and the sound of a bell being rang is terrible. There's no correct tone and it's distorted, and he can't take it. He just takes the implants off. And I think in that moment, that's when he just really accepts, like, man, it was so much better to be deaf. And I had a good thing at the deaf community I was in, and I don't think I can go back there because I've been kicked out. He doesn't know what to do. He's rocked his world twice in the last year, losing his hearing, being welcomed to a deaf community, and how he kind of has his hearing back, but he doesn't really, and he doesn't feel like he belongs with people that are hearing, but he can't go back to the deaf community. It's really tough. It's a very tough ending to deal with, very emotional, and they really enhance the sound throughout this entire movie. Like, there's no music hardly at all in this movie, and to substitute the music, there's scenes where they just show nature, and the ambience of that nature is just turned all the way up. And then sometimes they'll cut to everything just being quiet and people doing sign language, trying to show you this is what he hears. And sometimes there's a little bit of what he can hear, sometimes it's a little bit of a pitch, sometimes it's a rhythm or like a thud, he can hear that. But they really try to make a big contrast between what is just there every day in nature or in everyday life, and here's what he actually hears, which is nothing. And it's heartbreaking to go between these really great outdoor sounds and just being a part of nature through sound, and then just nothing. And one of the characters, the one that owns the home and like runs it, really tries to say, like, even though I'm deaf, I can still enjoy these aspects of life, because the stillness is where I'm at peace. When my mind is still, my hearing is obviously not there, but when his mind is at peace, he can really observe everything and feel comfort in it. So that, I think, is like him trying to say this is how you're ultimately going to cope with being deaf, and getting this implant didn't really help you get closer to that, and is honestly going to take you further and further away from starting a new chapter in your life. And we don't ever see if he's going to start a new chapter. It's a tough movie to watch sometimes, just because it could happen to anybody that just goes to lots of concerts or listens to music a lot. I had a scare about a year ago where I started hearing these really high-pitched ringing sounds, and I thought, am I losing my hearing? And it would happen maybe once or twice a day. Thankfully, I'm not. They said you just have really good hearing and you're losing the super high intensity you have for hearing certain sounds. And so that's what you're losing, but you're not losing the sound that everyone else can hear. So, very glad that I'm not actually losing my hearing, but I freaked out a bit and didn't want to watch this movie during that time period because I didn't want to think, wow, this is what could happen to me. After I've gone through all that and I've watched the movie, I'm even more grateful that I still have my hearing and that this movie was really made because it's emotional. It highlights what I think is a really big fear for musicians and people that work in audio or people that just love music in general or love hearing in general. But overall, while this movie is rather simple, it does have an emotional aspect to it. There's not a lot of, I want to say, narrative because you're on this journey with him and you don't really know how it's going to end. And none of the trailers really show how it's going to end either. So I would say this movie is probably an 8 out of 10 for me because you have no idea what's going to happen. Is he going to get his hearing back? You think he's going to, and you're just on this journey with him, like almost like everyday life. And you get to see some very private moments of frustration and what it's like to completely lose a sense and to try and adapt with it. So definitely recommend. If you've watched it, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're thinking of watching it, watch it and then come back and tell me what you think about it. Or if you're had some hesitations about watching it, let me know what those are and I'd be happy to answer in a way to try and help you watch this movie. But let me know what you think. Until next time,